next time I hear you properly.
Daryl, welcome to the Shred Truck. We're in a Shred Truck doing an interview in a trade show, and I don't know how much sound is leaking in here, but we're just going to talk loud and deal with the sound. Thank you for being here. If somebody doesn't know who you are and has never met you before and never come across your face, and your face is around all the time, so who are you? What do you do? Who do you work for?
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity, Tom. People that have been to an I Sigma conference in the past may recognize, if not me, at least a company name. Netgain has been a fixture at these conferences for 14 or 15 years. So we love doing educational seminars. In fact, I did one today just on digital marketing and just trying to give people the tools and just the awareness to up their game on digital marketing. So we're a perennial exhibitor.
Yep.
We do the shred schools in the fall. And I don't know how much detail you want to get into, but my personal background was...
Yeah, let's go there.
Real quick, because it is kind of semi-relevant.
Yeah.
I was in what I call the document creation industry for 10 years, which is selling photocopiers and printers, like all the equipment that generates mass amounts of paper. And then I went into the document retirement industry, as I call it, with records storage.
Yep.
And eventually kind of the document funeral industry, which would be shredding, scanning and shredding. So that was another 10 years of my life.
Yeah, and I think I met you the very first time when you were in the document retirement industry. That's when you and I first connected.
Right.
And then you went into the document shredding industry. You added that.
We added that after about 5 years, and it quickly overtook any revenues that we were getting on the record storage. Oh, and just a word of advice for folks listening out there is don't start a record storage center from scratch. It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
But shredding is much quicker, and that's kind of, to me, where the action was. And quickly eclipsed any revenues that we had on the storage side.
But, and you do this in Canada. You're north of Toronto.
That's correct. Yeah. So it was like a lot of our clients now. They work in small regional markets, and some of them avoid metropolitan areas, and that was us. So kind of a 2-hour sort of driving radius around our hometown, avoiding the big cities. But it was great because the competition's a bit lower. We were able to keep our prices where we wanted them. It wasn't so price sensitive. And a lot of our clients in like rural areas of Texas or whatever state it happens to be are like very similar situations. But I desperately wanted to get out of the industry, and I tried. So I joined a digital marketing agency thinking, hey, I'm going to go digital and I'm going to leave record storage behind. No, it caught up to me. The company I joined, and I knew this going in, but the company I joined already was established. Netgain was already established in the document industry. So I was able to take that, all those learnings from document management and, just anything to do with records.
And you've brought them along the way with you.
Yes. Yeah. So, Netgain's a company that can really help anyone that needs a website or digital marketing. But we have a particular fondness for the records management industry.
Well, I think it's interesting because the nature of your company is this interesting connection to the Bush system structure, and around Bush Systems is an ecosystem of companies that have a focus within this industry. So.
Yeah, exactly right. We've got a sister company also exhibiting bins for shredding.
Right.
And they're obviously up in our neck of the woods. So yeah, we really have shredding in our DNA.
Yeah, you really do.
Yeah.
So you did a presentation today. And give me the essence of where you went with that presentation today. Just
so you skipped out of my presentation, and you want like your own version of.
Well, no, I don't want it for me. What I want it is for anybody who's watching, because if they didn't come to the event, then I want a snippet of what you provided without them having to come and.
Yeah, and I was teasing, of course. So really three things, and it was about getting if you're a shredding company, getting found online.
Yep.
And so the three aspects were that when someone does a search, they're seeing Google ads. So if you do a search for shredding in Dallas, let's say, there's going to be 3 or 4 ads. So how do you get into that top position? Because there's also a handful of ads at the bottom of the page.
Right.
And on page 2. But you really want to be... So some people will click an ad, some people won't. Some people will scroll down the page to what we call the map stack or the map section. So, if you really should be hedging your bets and appearing in that section as well. So what are the things that you need to do to appear in the map section? And then finally, we talked about organic listings. And I think the bulk of traffic still goes down to that organic listing section. But you know what? You really want to be appearing prominently in all three. So on page one, there's 10 listings, and Google has a choice to make. If, like in Dallas, there are 11, 12 shredding companies.
Yeah.
All of them want to be page one, position one, but Google has a choice to make.
Right.
So what are the things you can do to tip those odds
in your favor?
Yes.
Yes.
And we talk I'm happy to get into that, but to me, what was fascinating is we're seeing AI, and we're like, 3 minutes into a conversation about marketing, and AI was going to come up at some point in time.
Yeah.
But we're seeing AI creep its way into all three of those sections.
Yes, deeply.
So
and it's almost like when I'm doing searches now, I see, depending on the nature of the search, but I'm seeing now a fourth whole section, which is like Google's algorithmic AI response.
So that's called AI overviews.
Yes.
Like, it has a name.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love the name, but I wasn't the one who picked it out. AI overviews, they call it, and that's machine learning and generative learning. But you know what? It's got to pull that information from somewhere.
Right.
So often, what'll happen, you'll get an AI response, and it's kind of ironic to me. So I did a search for purge shredding. And, I wanted to see the companies that were ranking, but instead I got this AI overview explaining to me, kind of mansplaining what purge shredding was. Right. And it's kind of fun. Like, if I do a search for pizza, I don't want the history of pizza. I'm looking for a pizza joint near me. But So Google is, depending on your search terms, Google is starting to experiment with this AI overview, and it's, to be a little cynical, Google has its own reasons for doing so. They're trying to be helpful to the searcher, but they also don't want you leaving their playground.
Right.
So they would rather not send you to abcshredding.com. They would rather keep you on like Google's playing field in their ecosystem and not send you to a website. So you kind of look at it two ways, but there's things you can do to influence whether or not you're being cited as an expert, because if you look right beside that overview, Google will, it's not exactly a citation, but they'll list 3 websites where they gleaned some information. And the thing you can do is take a look at your content, and if possible, phrase your content in the form of a question, sort of just like Jeopardy. You're answering in the form of a question. So on your website, if you offer purge shredding and you have a page dedicated to purge shredding, as you should, that content should be written prominently in the header. You should answer the question and actually write it out. What is purge shredding? Google comes along and indexes that, and then may cite you as an authority as it's crafting its generative AI response.
Right.
Yeah.
So very cool. So someone like me, I like to kind of keep going and figuring stuff out, but I've almost quit using Google.
Oh?
So I use Perplexity as my primary search engine now.
Okay.
Right? Because Perplexity gives me a lot more. How should people be thinking about what's evolving? Like a ChatGPT has just added a search in the last couple of weeks. They added the search capability in there, and I know we're all trying to figure this out, but it's being added. I use Anthropic or Claude. It now is just adding that too. So what's starting to emerge is AI is becoming the dominant player, and I know I don't know. I don't have a clue, but I'm asking you as somebody inside the industry, what are you seeing in terms of the evolution of how many people are going to Google versus going to these other platforms? You're
probably a more savvy user than most. You're a power user. I think for an average person that is staring at a pile of 75 boxes that needs to get destroyed, you can look at a popularity of search like browsers, right? And you'll see Google still has an overwhelming 95. That may change. Check in with me next year, and that I may have a different answer for you. But for the time being, it would be nice to optimize for Perplexity and all these different.
But we don't know how to. That's the challenge.
Yes,
yeah.
But for the time being, my advice is pay attention to where your users are searching, and I still think you're going to find an overwhelming majority. People ask me, should I do Bing ads? Well, I don't know. What's a percentage of people that use Bing as a search engine? It's got to be 3 or 4%. So just put your resources accordingly.
Yeah. So as somebody who talks to a lot of people in the industry, and you have a lot of clients in the industry, what are some of the emerging? What are some of the things you wish you could say to them, but sometimes you can't because they're your client?
Oh,
right. So
yeah.
what are some of the hard truths that people need to hear about their web marketing, their web presence, their brand, any of that kind of, like, what are some hard truths that you wish you could every so often say? So I'm giving you the chance to say it without hurting anybody's feelings.
I'm not too concerned about hurting people's feelings, and any criticism I give, people know it comes from a place of love. I'm trying to help them out. So, as we like to say, it's gloves off time. But having said that, we can lead a horse to water, but we can't make it drink.
Yeah.
So a lot of our clients will think, well, I've just launched a new website, build it and they will come. Or I'm in an area that doesn't really need, we don't need to worry about like Google Ads or pay-per-click advertising, for example, because we're ranking so strongly. But that's predicated on the assumption that people are actually scrolling down to the organic rank.
Right.
So when people are searching for shredding, those searches are just loaded with intent, and oftentimes like they're ready to buy.
Yes.
And the first response, so they may not even realize you're clicking on an ad, or they may not care. So I try, and I do it diplomatically, to tell our clients, like, having a beautiful website or having a strong social media presence is not sufficient.
Right.
Like, you really should be running ads.
Yes.
Your competitors are running it. They're doing it for a reason. They don't always listen to me, but I worry.
Why I'm asking the question, because I think sometimes it's helpful to say it in a different way, because I don't know. I feel like sometimes when it's a client, you're gentle and tender, but sometimes it's helpful to know, don't undervalue the different channels even within the
and
platform.
we marketers like me, I try not to be too pretentious, but we like using terms like omni-channel marketing and these types of things, and which really just means be on as many platforms as possible. But having said that, there are there's a pecking order and there's a priority list. So if a client is pushing back on one thing, like, for example, you might let social media slide, or maybe not let it slide entirely because it's part of the marketing mix.
Yeah.
But maybe that's something that's going to not take it, or just have someone internally do it. Because in this industry, I don't think that your a Facebook profile is really going to lead to direct sales.
No.
People like to know that the lights are on in someone's home, that you're doing a good job in the marketplace, and that you're eating, living, and breathing shredding. But is it really going to net you any new deals? So that might be something where I'll just say, okay, you don't want to do social media. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, so good. Well, it's really helpful to hear this, and I just want to say thank you for the work you do in this industry. Thank you for the session you gave today, because all the time what we're looking for is just new insights, new ways of thinking about it. Where can we go from here? Yeah. And so thank you for the work you're doing.
Yeah, you're welcome. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it, and just seeing the difference that can be made with digital media to digital marketing rather, to the bottom lines of shredding companies and taking them from zero to hero is very satisfying. Yeah,
it's really cool. Well, thank you, Daryl. It's been delightful to talk to you, and appreciate you coming on the podcast.
My pleasure, Tom.
Cheers.